welcome. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful, and we are in the studio today working on my vintage grunge journal. So if you're just joining me for the very first time, welcome. I hope that if you enjoyed this video, you will give me a thumbs up and click on subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is episode number 7 for this series, so I will put a link to this playlist in the description, and that way you can watch it from the beginning if you're just tuning in for the first time. So if you haven't been following me, I am fairly new to junk journaling. Been doing this for not quite a year yet. I have a Facebook page, and I do lots of different things, including jewelry. And when I started taking up this hobby, it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and I wanted to share what I was working on with my Facebook followers because that's kind of what my Facebook page is about. And the best way to do that was to do a video format, and so that's why my YouTube channel was born. So I've been at it, like I said, for less than a year. I think the channel started in August. Last week we reached 2,000 subscribers, so thank you to everyone. I couldn't do that without you. So what I like to do, I did this in my last series, I hit 1,000 subscribers. So I did a drawing at the end, and I did it about a week after the series was finished. So I'm going to do that this time also. So after the last video, I'll give it another week. To get entered, all you have to do is leave some kind of comment in any of the videos in the series. You can leave them in all of them, whatever. And every time you do that, your name is put into the drawing, and the winner will get lots of goodies from this series. I tend to make samples when I'm doing demos and that kind of thing, or have extras. Like if I'm doing certain kind of papers or something, I might do a lot more than I'm going to actually need. Lots of little goodies, embellishments, that kind of stuff. That will all go in a nice little package for the winner. So good luck to everyone. Leave a comment and you'll get entered. So I'm on episode number 7, like I said, and my book is already getting kind of full. I had just started out with, I think the first couple were making this cover, which, to be honest, I may be making a new cover. I'm finding that I'm already getting really full, and I'm not, I may be more than halfway, but I still want to add some more signatures. So I may be making a new cover with a wider spine to fit this, because otherwise it's going to be huge. So, I'm just learning as I go. In the future, maybe if I'm going to be making the actual cover too, I will do the inside first so I can see how much room I need. So that's kind of a live and learn thing. So the first episode or so was just making this cover out of food packaging, just recycled materials, and then doing the finish on it. So we've done that. I'm going to put that aside because it's too small now. And then I started working on the signatures. Now, if you have been following me, you know that I like to do a theme for my book. And the last project was something totally different. I'm always trying to learn new things. And I have a lot of different styles that I like. So I kind of want to switch it up every video or every series just to be doing something different. So this one is based on a ghost town in California called Bodie. And I had visited there a few years ago and taken lots and lots of pictures. And I knew that I wanted to do something with those. And so they are turning into this journal. So once I kind of, I had my ideas set out, I created a prompt list, and I've been making papers. I won't go into details about all of that because I've covered it in previous videos, but I'm mentioning it now because there will be a freebie file, again, in the description. Always look on my videos. Well, since the last series and this one, I'm actually creating a lot of my own materials instead of using paper packs. So those, I'm offering some items free, and you can check that out. That freebie file will grow over the course of this series. So check it out from time to time in case you haven't, taken advantage of everything. And then I also am creating like a digital kit for my Etsy shop. So right now I actually have 2 different paper packs for this series in my Etsy shop, and I will put links to those also in the bottom, in the description. Those are for the fresco finishes that I'm using as background papers. And then also I've done some wallpaper patterned ones as well. So I will have links to those if you want to check those out too. So I had started on the first signature. So if you're brand new to junk journaling like me, you maybe don't know all the terminology. So a signature is basically a group of folios. So each one of these folded is a folio. And then you combine these folios together and you've created a signature. And then multiple signatures go into your book. So for this book, I decided I was going to make the signatures ahead. And then, because if I want to do any stitching or certain things that I want to do to those folios, might need to be done before they're stitched into my book. It's just much easier for me. I know a lot of people go ahead and they get all of their, like this, they'll just, you know, get all of their different signatures together and sew them in blank and then decorate them. But I thought for me, I know I like to do a lot of stitching and things around that may be easier to do before I put them in my book. So that's what I'm working on now. This first one is based on one of the houses in Bodie, and maybe not one specific one, but just kind of overall the things that I saw when looking into different houses. So one of the things, if you're just catching this for the first time, I've put photographs in the freebies also, some of the photographs that I was inspired by. And then I've also altered photographs because I want it to look like going through a ghost town. So I wanted them to look old and kind of see things through to the next page sort of deal. If you've never been to Bodie, and a few people have mentioned now that it's on their bucket list or they really want to go see it. There are virtual tours done on video online. I haven't watched any of them yet. So when I do and I find one that I like, I'm going to start putting a link to that in the description too. Because if you're wanting to do something with this kind of theme and you've never been to a ghost town, it's just kind of a fun way to get your inspiration. So I'm going to watch some and I'll put a link down in the description. But basically, when you go to Bodie, you don't get to go into any of the buildings. You're just looking through the windows, walking around the town. There's around 100 buildings, I guess, still there. So you're kind of doing a self-guided tour. There's still things in all of the buildings. They were all just left to age over time naturally. And so if you like junk and grungy things, it's just kind of a really fun thing to go see. So my first signature is the house. And I thought I was pretty close to finished with it after the last video, but I've done a couple more things, and then I had an idea that I wanted to share that affects this one and the other signatures. So I'm gonna kind of craft a little bit here, showing you what I've done, and move forward and show you where I'm headed with all this. So if you've been watching, you know that I'm trying to do kind of a look through one room to the next. And so I've had this done. I won't go into all of it, but one of the things that I was still working on from the last one was this little tuck that I wanted to put in. I've gone ahead and added some of my rusted fabric. And when you see materials that I've done something to, there are previous videos. So I'll just mention them, and then you'll have to go back and watch how I made all these things. But this was an embossed book page. I used the embossed book page to create my wallpaper effect on my jelly plate. And this was one of the actual pieces that I had used. So I just liked how the coloration came out. So I've just added a piece of my rusted fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that on since I can. I don't need to do that too before I sew it in, but I might as well just to not lose that piece. My glue is getting kind of dried on here. So I'm just going to make this a little tuck. So I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. And I guess I could sew it to that page, but I think this is probably easier. So we'll just stick that here, and then later I can add, once I've sewn these in, then I'll go back and do all my little cards and inserts and things like that. So I'll put that there, and then these were done already in previous videos. This one I hadn't put him in yet, and I'm still not sure I'm going to, because I may want to do more to him, but this was a Tim Holtz card. And I wanted to kind of think of what people might have lived in this house. So this folio was a lot of fun, so I worked on it more, and I'm going to show you the whole thing now that I've done more to it, because it's quite long. And it was basically a piece of some coffee stained paper, and it was, I showed this before. Sometimes you can find a composition book that the way it's stitched in, you can take all the pages out together and keep them as one. Sometimes it's hard to find a long enough piece of paper for a folio. So I liked that I did that. And which, this is going to be off subject, but I had somebody in a comment ask me how I store my jelly plate, because they've never bought one. Well, when I first bought mine, I didn't know how to store it either. I didn't even know if I should take those little plastic things off or not. So what happened was I did not save the clamshell that it came in because I didn't know I was supposed to. And I don't know, there may have been instructions in this one, but I don't recall seeing that. So I hadn't, and I didn't, what do I do with it after I've started using it? I don't have anything to put in it. So somebody asked me how I stored it. Well, because I had thrown that away, this is a plastic from that composition book. And you can just buy the cheap ones that are just this kind of vinyl-y plastic. So I had taken that book apart, so I just use it. I put a sandwich in between those just to keep it flat, because you don't want any kind of mark or divot or anything with texture, because it will transfer to your jelly plate. So I didn't learn that until I bought my larger one, and it had some instruction with it, and it said to keep this clamshell that it comes in, and that's what you store it in. So that's the answer to, I think it was Judy asked that question. So that's what I do since I had thrown mine away. But that's what this paper was, that large composition book. I know I'm jumping around here, but what I had added, because it was really wide, I just tore it across the top to fit. And then I had the fold from the middle already. So I just folded back thinking, well, those can be pullouts or pockets if I decide this to be a pocket. But because it's writable space, I kind of like leaving it open just for more space to write. So I'm not gonna glue that down, but I liked kind of having the illusion, you know, of needing to go look further. So I added some of my, this isn't the rusted scrim, this is my scrim, but I used my vintage photo. I just used this piece of scrim to clean my workspace, and I just love the color of it. So I've just stitched a piece of that to the edge, just because I think that's a nice background for him. So I'm still not sure how I'm going to attach him, so I'm not going to do anything right now. But that's how I work. I just, you know, it'll come to me later, you know, what he's saying he wants to be. So I'm going to wait on that. And then I don't think I had attached this yet. I went ahead and I attached that, cut out that where the mirror was supposed to be. I think I did show that last time. I showed all this. I think this is what's new. So I've taken one of my photos. If you've been watching, you know that I took all my photos, the ones that I wanted to use, and I ran them through an app on my phone that's called Photo Lab. And I just put a vintage, ran it through a vintage, I don't know what you call those things, but you just run it through the app with the vintage thing, and it will change it to look like a vintage photo. There's a name for that. I just don't remember what it is. So I've just altered that photo, and then I tore it and glued it back just to stagger it. And I've now glued it down to make a pocket. I went ahead and stitched a piece of this crocheted lace on the edge. You know, just things that I think I want to do to embellish my pages that are easier to do now before they're all glued in. So that'll go there. And I think I do have something I want to put here. So I'll do that with you. So I decided that I knew I wanted, this is from the clothing that's hanging on the wall. And this is like a bed that's all ratty-tatty and, you know, some furniture and things. So I kind of, because the clothes are hanging high on the wall, I wanted my photo to be high on my page. And so I decided I was going to take a piece of this rusted fabric that I had been using. And I kind of liked it on here. I'm not sure which way. To make this a pocket, but then have this be high up. So I won't do the whole thing now, but that's kind of my idea. Not sure which way I want it to go. This is why I don't craft a lot on camera, because I'm not always quick to decide things. I think I kind of like it like that though. Okay, so I need this to be, if this is going to be my pocket, and I think I might attach that to the pocket, but you know, kind of have a tuck in that way, so this may get stitched. I'm not sure, but I do know that I need to make this thicker. So I'm going to just glue it to a piece of book page just to make it a little stronger for a pocket, and then not worry about that top being a pocket. Now I'm using glue stick. I like this Elmer's School Glue. I've tried some other ones. Scotch brand had been recommended, but I still like this better. I like that it's purple, that it turns so I can see, you know, if my glue is drying too quick. I just like it. It's not too wet. I think that Scotch brand was a little more wet, and I didn't really like that. So my glue. And then I think I'm just going to hand tear this. I've been using a tear ruler for a lot of things, but I think I'm just going to hand tear it kind of where it wants to tear, because I want to see my frayed fabric edge. And I will also put links down below for products that I use, different things, so that if you're new and you see me use something that you don't have, then it's just a quick way to order it. And a lot of my links are going to be to Amazon. Someone had asked me, you know, if I was going to be an influencer now that I have, you know, getting more subscribers, or if I was going to be, you know, monetized and all that. And I don't really think I want to do that, because they just add more ads to your videos, and I just don't really want to put people through that. So I decided instead that I would join Amazon's affiliate program. And all that is, it doesn't cost the buyer anything additional, but it's just a way for me to put a link in the description to a product. And then if you purchase that product, or even if you continue shopping and you buy anything that, even if it's not something that I have listed, you went there because of my listing, and so then they give me a little bit of a commission. So it's just a way for me to get more Amazon gift cards for buying more craft supplies. So you know, feel free to do that if you would like to support, but I just like to put the things down there, which I did before anyway, just to make it easy for you to shop. So this, I think, is going to go like this. I think I might want to sew, and I don't want to do that on camera. So I'll do that and then update later, but I think that's how that's going to go. So I like to clip things so I don't forget or lose parts before. And then I had already done that one. This one I still don't know how I'm going to put it in there, but I really like that it's curly. That was an accident, but I like it. So that's the folio I had been working on. I still haven't done anything here. I did add this. This goes inside. This was another piece that I've been trying to maybe not make this so thick, but I had done this piece, which I have in a different video that I showed, but it's from a handle, a back plate to a handle. And I just loved it with this photo because this dresser was actually missing a handle. So I just thought it was kind of funny. It could even be a similar kind of back plate, and just a coincidence that I had that. So there are a lot of little eerie coincidences in this book. And so because it's a ghost town, I kind of like that. So I went ahead and I cut out where there was a mirror on the wall that was hanging crooked. So I used one of the Tim Holtz die Thinlits, the labels one. I will put that link in the description too. I've shown this in previous videos, but it's just this a little Thinlits die, and I use it on a Vagabond too, which is the electric version of a embosser die cutting machine. So I went ahead and I just sewed it in with my machine just on 2 corners because I want it to be just kind of a corner tuck. And because there's lots of peeling wallpaper and paint and that kind of thing, and I'm trying to do a grungy thing, I didn't want it to glue it to the backing paper. This is one of my faux wallpapers that I made, and that is in my Etsy shop also. This would be, I think there are 16 different designs for the wallpaper, and then 16 different fresco water stained wall finishes. So those, I'll have the link in there, but that was something that I added since the last one too. So I think those go like this. Yep. Okay, so that was that folio. Now my new idea is I wasn't feeling like I really wanted this to be in my book where you just open the book and there's the front door, because this is a signature that's going to be related to the other ones, but they're all combined, encompassed in Bodhi. So I kind of wanted like a title page. So I had an idea, and it was a way to transition between my signatures. And I also decided that my signatures, because I started working on the next one, which is the next one's going to be a church and then a school. And I was going to combine these two, but I didn't like, once I chose my papers, and I'll show you that when I get to that point, I didn't want them to be together. I want them to be separate. So my signatures are not all going to be the same size, and I'm okay with that. It's more about your journey through this town, or your tour wandering around this town for me. So I'll explain that as I kind of show you my next signatures, but I wanted a title page. So I came up with this idea. You know how some books will have like, let me grab my papers here. They will have like tissue, kind of a stiff tissue paper in between, like an old photo album. There would be like a page, and then it's like a hard page, and then there'll be a tissue-y piece of paper that you go over, and then there'll be the hard page again. So that kind of idea is what I wanted to do. So I didn't have any, I kept thinking parchment paper. Well, I didn't have any. I thought like parchment baking paper, you can kind of see through it. That could work. I didn't have any of that, but I did have vellum. And so, because I've been using this to print my pictures on. So I thought, well, I can start with a piece of vellum. But when I was looking for my parchment paper in my kitchen, I did find this one. This is baking paper. It's unbleached baking paper. So I liked the color of it. And it has that weight that I was looking for. So I'll put a link to something like that also. But I thought, I don't really want to see the front door in your face kind of yet. I want it kind of to be there, but, something that you want to go see through. So I decided to layer them like this. And if I do them as their own folio, then I have them between this and the next signature. So it's kind of that breakup that I wanted. So for my first page, I decided what I want to do is leave this blank, because again, I don't want the first thing to be right in my face. I want to see it through here. So I decided this is going to be where I put I had taken a photo, and I'll add this. As you see me add photos to my book, I will add those also to the freebies that you get. So it didn't come out really clear by the time I printed it onto the vellum, but I don't really care about that. I just want the illusion of it there. So I've printed on vellum, and I've shown you how I've done that in the past. I'm doing it with tissue this time too, so I will actually show you how I did that. But I'm just going to take one of these pictures, and I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers tear ruler that I've been using for all this, and I'm just going to tear one of these off. I went ahead and printed these 4 to a page, partly because you see ink from my printer here. Sometimes you don't know if when you go to print something until it comes out, if some of your ink has gotten on one of your pictures. So I figured, well, I'm just going to do this one with 4 on a page. That way at least one of them will turn out good. So I'm just going to, they all came out okay. That's going to end up getting cut off. So I'm just going to try to find a straight line and tear this off. Now under here I have my Tim Holtz glass mat that I love working with for this kind of thing because it has a grid, but for camera it's really not good. I need to tear this a little smaller, I think. I don't want this clear edge. It's nice because it has a grid that you can, you know, line it up exactly, which I just didn't do. But it's not good for filming because of the glare. That's better. And this side. I don't really need to get, vellum tears pretty well. You can get it wet with a little water pen, which is where, up here somewhere. This little, you know, water pen, but you don't really need to do it. Let's see if it works any better for this one. It works good on tissue paper, but vellum it doesn't really soak up the water as well, so, you know, I just kind of tear it. And this side. This is why I don't craft on camera much, because I'm uber slow and messy. And then I want to use my vintage photo to go around the edge. Because even the ones that I already ran through, this one I didn't run through the vintage, the Photo Lab photo thing to turn it into an antique looking photo. I don't mind. I want to have a little bit of color in my book, and because it's kind of a map, more of a map thing, I'd rather it show up a little better. Then when you turn it into that vintage thing, it kind of ages it so much, the pictures aren't very clear. So for this one, I decided to go ahead and leave it like my original. But then I do like to distress my edges. Okay, so this one I want to put on this tissue paper like that. And I think I can even, I know this is thin, but I'm going to try anyway, to kind of get these edges too. I don't think it's going to show up a ton, but just that subtle little bit you notice. Just a little harder to do because it's like tissue paper. But that's the good thing about doing a grungy journal, because wrinkles and all that kind of stuff are acceptable. I might as well do all of them because I don't know what's going to go on here either, right? I just think this is all easier to do before you sew it in, the signatures. And that way also, if I really screwed something up, I could replace it easier before it's sewed in. Because, like I said, I am new to this and I'm not the tidiest worker. So I'm going to leave that inside though, I think. Except for, no, I know I want something. Let's see. I have to remember what page it's going to go with. I'm putting something here too. So I do want to do that inside. And this one I won't have anything, so I don't really care about that. When I did this, when you pull this paper off of the roll, you know, it's on like a foil kind of roll. So it's very curly, and you can see it's kind of still a little curly. But I ironed it just to kind of flatten it out, which helped. And it's easy and fine to do that because it's baking paper. So I think rather than get any of this wet with like glue stick or anything, I'm going to use, where is my... I'm going to use my little tape dispenser thing that's just this dots adhesive. I think that'll be better. That way it won't really show through. And it's not going to be a pocket or anything like that. I suppose I could have made it a pocket, but it's going to be on such thin tissue that I just kind of want it to be like more like a title page. So let's see if I can center this, eyeball center it. Because you only get one shot, right? Okay, so that will be my title page, sort of, like that. And I could go around, and I may, with my distress, I won't do it on camera, but see, then I have my, rather than now opening the book, you have like a title page that's peeking through, and then the front door. And then I'll have something here to peek through there too. So that's that. Now then the end, I had my barn, which I've shown this in a previous video, so I won't go into great detail, but I had a photo. I was looking for photos for the next couple of signatures, which are going to be church and school. And I didn't know if I had more. When I started this project, not really knowing too much about what was going to go in it, I went through probably 100 or more pictures and picked out my favorites, which turned out to be like 80 of them, and then have been narrowing it down. So I couldn't remember if I had other pictures of churches or anything in, you know, the inside of the church or anything. So I went through my pictures and I found this picture of this old truck, and I decided that I, rather than have like 2 pages blank before the next signature, I would put something here. And I thought this truck was perfect for there because it's, you know, it's outside the barn, the back of the house, and then the next one's going to be church. So I thought, you know, having a vehicle, it would be good. So I had this old truck. Now I wanted to show this before I put it in because this is one of those eerie things that was just so funny. So in the actual picture, I don't know if you can see that it's printed on vellum, so it's pretty see-through. There are mountains here in this background, and this truck is just in front of like a gas tank to get gas. So I saw this and I thought, well, it's so kind of faded back there. It'd be kind of nice to, you know, have something behind there to enhance that. So, you know, you've seen my pile of rusted fabric that I made. It's huge. I went over and I literally grabbed the top piece, and I looked at that and I thought, oh, this might be good. And I started laying it around. I don't know if you can see, but this rust right here and this white, in this area, we get snow. And so the mountains can look like that with snow. They close Bodie in the winter because you can't even get there. It's a dirt road to where the town is, and you can't access it in the winter. So I just happened to be laying this down, and it looks like that rust fits perfect over those mountains. It blew me away. So I just love that. I didn't put it in yet because I wanted to show you how I've been finding these little happy accidents. So I'm going to end up sewing this together, and then it will go here. But it just kills me. Look how much better that looks to have that background behind there. Even the black up here kind of looks like a stormy sky, you know, and then you get the rust down here where the gas tank, and I don't know, it was like one of those things that was just meant to be. So that's going to be, I promise, the finish of that signature. So then the next one that I started putting together, and I'm just going to show you where I'm at and do a little bit here, is going to be the church. So to get things for church, I didn't have any paper packs or anything that had anything related to that. So I had a few things, though, because I have been a collector of junk and stuff forever. I had this hymn book that my friend, my Junkin' buddy Jeannie, had given me years ago. And I play the piano, so this was just something that I would leave, you know, when I didn't have my own piano music out, just as decor. I would leave this book standing on my piano. And the front of it, I just love it. I love the color of it. It's really old. I love the text that they used. So I thought I can use, I don't want to tear it up, obviously, but I can use some of this in my journal. So I started kind of flipping through here to see the titles of songs, and I just loved these 2 pages, Scatter Seeds of Kindness and He Loves Me. So I just thought that's perfect. So I've made, took a picture of this and made a PNG out of it. And I've created a background paper using this and using the cover. So I have put that together because I've been teaching myself Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. And so this is what it looks like. This will be part of the digital kit once I have, enough things to put in that at the end of this. But I went ahead and I used one of my fresco water stained papers that I made behind, and then put the music. And I like for this journal especially to change the opacity so that you're seeing through everything. So then I put the book cover, and I did it over here so that you could fold this in half and it'll be a folio. And then I'll show you what I've done with it. But I wanted to show you what this looked like because this is how the page will be in the kit. When it's printed onto, I printed it onto just kind of a cream colored cardstock. So I did print it on a few different things because I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to use it when I started. So I printed it on, let's see, I have another one here, just so you'll be able to see the quality of it. So this one I printed onto parchment paper. You can buy just a pack of parchment. And I'm not sure if this is a color, probably like ivory or something, but it's just, something that you would get to, do diplomas or certificates or that kind of thing on. So I printed it on that, and it's a good weight, maybe because it's the cover of my signature sort of. I wanted it still a little bit heavier than this, but that's what it looks like printed on parchment. And actually this is a piece, so you can see it's kind of an off-white color, I guess. I'll put a link to parchment in there too. And then this was printed on the Hammermill 32-pound paper that I've been using. And again, it's a nice weight, but maybe a little thinner than I wanted for my journal. So how I came to this size, and you may be able to, like before you print, from this original, I scaled this to fit the size book that I was making, which is my pages are 6 7/8 this way and 5 inches this way, so 10 total. So what I do is I fold it in half before I cut it. That way I'll get a nice straight edges. So I fold it where I want it and then trim it then. So that's what I did here. I went ahead and used my vintage photo. I wanted to show this just to show the color difference. This was my original design. And then once I finished it, I wasn't really thrilled with the color. I wanted it more of a sepia color. So the one that I have now is going to be more this color, which I kind of like better. It's closer to the original of the book too. So anyway, so that's what it looks like if you vintage photo around the edges, which I think it just adds to it. This looks pretty plain, but I like that because then you can kind of adjust it to the color that you want. You may want more colorful, I don't know. So this one I've used vintage photo around the edge again, and then I cut a door in it. But before I did that, because I had just done it on cardstock, it was plain on the inside, like this one. I didn't want it just white. So you could print, you know, one of the other fresco finishes or something. You could print that onto the back, or maybe you have another design you want to print on the back. But I decided to do something different. So I took another thing that I have. I went and dug out my very first Bible that was given to me by my parents, and looking through it, because it's a Bible with, you know, extra helps and things in the back, I wanted to, you know, see what else might be in there. There's like a little dictionary of some of the terms in the Bible, which that'll be fun, you know, to use that for papers. But then there was also a calendar for reading through the Bible. So I thought, well, that's kind of a neat chart looking thing to put in it. So I also have scanned that. And then that one I did for the inside. And you can see it's not very clear by the time I ended up taking a photograph. It turned out better than a scan. But I liked that the paper was really, you know, Bible paper is really thin and tissue-like, and you see through it. You can actually see through, even in the printing, from the other side. And I really like that. I don't mind that it's blurry because it's a background. So that is something that I'll also have. That I haven't decided yet. That may be because, you know, the quality is what it is. It may be in the freebies instead of the kit, but I'm not, or both. I mean, when I do the freebies, I also put those in the kit. But let's see, where's my, so I decided, because Bible paper is so tissue thin, that I would print it onto tissue. And so that's what I did with this. And I've shown this before in other videos, but when I print on tissue or even vellum or anything, a fabric, anything, I need to put it on a piece of other paper. So I just use wall safe tape. You could use washi tape, anything with a low tack, but I figure why waste washi tape? So I just use this wall safe tape from Scotch. And I just tape it along the edge. And then this one, the way I have it laid out to print again, was to print the size that I wanted for my book and in the middle of the page. So I mentioned that so that when you get a freebie or something like that and you see that it didn't fill the whole page, that's why I wanted the title in there. And I needed it to be smaller than an 8.5 by 11. So you can adjust the size before you print it on your printer before. When I print, though, I always go into media and quality and then go to best, because it will default just kind of at mid-range. And so all of my photos, you know, papers, any of these kind of things, I always up the quality. This one still came out, you know, you can see where the ink gets all over the top. And I don't mind because it's for a grungy one, that the ink even bled here. I went ahead after I printed it and just ran my iron over it to kind of heat set everything. But I don't really mind that because it's a grungy, you know, a grungy book in its background. So, you know, it's kind of blurry and all that, but I'm fine with that. This one, when I printed it, it came out blurry because that's just, you know, the quality of it. But I didn't get any of the black on this one. So anyway, I just used my glue stick and then glued that tissue to the back. And then did my vintage photo. You can see that aged it more because it started out like this one. Just to get that, you know, kind of tea-stained look. And then I wanted to really tatter up my edges because my book, this hymn book, was very tattered. So I wanted to really tatter up my edges. And how I have this little tool that was in like a kit for distressing paper things. I bought this forever ago, so I don't even, not even sure what brand or anything it is, but it's basically a little razor blade sort of thing inside there that you can run through. The other thing, if you don't have something like that that works, is just some scissors. So you just take it, and I just really rough the heck out of it all around, and even around the inside of my open book page. And then used the vintage photo again just to kind of knock down all that white. So that was kind of, this is the outside of my folio. So you can see it's not real thick. I did it on that cardstock, and then there's just a piece of tissue. But it's fine for my front. And then I just used an X-Acto knife and a ruler and just cut around the book. I did go ahead, the corner of my book was rounded in the photo, so I actually did that. It wasn't on the bottom, but I went ahead and did that rounded. And then you can see how it kind of pops a little bit more than you notice on this. It pretty much fades in. To get that edge to really pop more, I just used a general charcoal pencil, and this one's just a soft one, and just used my ruler and kind of went around the edges with this black and then just smudged it with my finger. And then that kind of just made that kind of pop off the page a little better. So you do that. And then for the insides of this, I'm not going to have a lot of pages, mostly because I just don't have a lot of the right type of paper that I wanted for this signature. So I did have an old organ music book that was hymns, believe it or not. And I'll show you how I folded this. I'll grab a piece because I didn't tear or cut anything. So I think, you see, I think it came out of this book because I don't think I have two of these. So I think I just picked, let's see, another one that I might want to use. I just like to look at the titles, you know, because something might fit the book that I'm doing. Oh, that one's kind of neat. Oh, wait, here we go. This one says The West Day is Dying in the West. I'll use this one. Since this is a Western gold rush town, right? So this was the full page. This was the full, see, I've glued it already. This was a full page. So I started out, I wanted my title where I would see it. And then, so I took my height that I needed for my page and I just folded it back. I don't know if I'm in frame here. I kind of eyeball this again. That's good. I'm doing this because this could go in that freebie, or not the freebie, but in the, you know, the giveaway at the end. Okay, so I have that part. So this is going to be two little pockets. That doesn't feel straight for some reason, though. Maybe it's not. It's because it's not. Okay, that's better. And then I think I just folded over the 5 inches that I needed. So let's see. This ruler doesn't have, there we go. My pages I know are 5 inches. So I can be less, you know, I can be less than 5. Where is my 5 on here? 3. Oh, it's a different kind. It's like a centering ruler. That takes too much thought. We'll do this. Okay. Close enough. I don't really care if my pages are all, I want them within 5 inches. You know, the more you have in a signature, I found this, being the newbie, I found this with this one. If these are 5 inches, that's fine. But if you cut all these 5 inches, they're going to be sticking out because they're getting so thick in there. So I did them less than, you know, and they vary just, you know, because I don't need them all to come to the outside edge. So you make your biggest one, and then the ones inside of that need to be maybe smaller. So I did that, and then I folded back, I think, the other direction. No, I did it in. So I did it this way. So one fold back on itself, fold it to the side of the page, and then fold this one in. That way you end up with a pocket here You open it, and then I glued this so I have a pocket here and a little place for like a ticket or something there, and then a pocket here. So that was one folio, which obviously then I already have stitched some. So glued where my pocket was gonna, well, I didn't even need to glue here because I stitched around the edges with my sewing machine. And then this one. And I'm just gonna leave this because then it's kind of more like a tuck. Something bigger can go in there. And then I had, the next one was just another piece of coffee stained paper, and it was too long, and I want them to stagger. So I went ahead and just cut it in a way that I would have enough left over to make it worth it, right? I could have done it in half, but I like the variety. So I left just enough to make this, you know, a usable size. And then I stitched it kind of just where it came to the edge, just to offset everything, just to be different. I don't know. So that's all I've done with that, and just tea stained or vintage photo around the edges of everything. And I just like to get all that stitching part done before I decorate it. And I can just, you know, I'll decorate it after, which is fine. So my next, the next thing I had was the back of my original folio. This is the one that's going to be in the kit. So I needed to do something there because it was also white. So what I've decided there was I have all these pictures. I had the front of the church, and I have the back of the church somewhere. I'll have to find it. So I had a picture of the front of the church, the back of the church, and that was all I had as far as photos of the church. So it kind of made me have less as far as photos to use here. So this is the front of the church. This is going to be in the freebies. And I decided I'm going to put that here because I'm going to have that truck. I'm going to have the truck here and then the church here. But I like that it's the size that you see that hymn book through there, but it's on its own page. So I haven't glued that down yet, but I will. I don't think I'll stitch it, but you never know, I might. So I'll do that later. And then you open this and there will be, you know, something here. If I find something, I actually have, I went online looking for other church-related ephemera that I can put in here because I just don't have any. I had the organ book, I had my Bible, and I had this hymn book. I had my grandmother's Bible. I went through and looked for, hoping, you know, she tucks away cards and different things. I was hoping to find an old church program in there, and I didn't. I did find, though, I guess I was destined for papercraft. I have to get this and show you. So this was my grandmother's Bible. The first thing in the front, I was very close to my grandmother. Very first thing in the front of her Bible is a Christmas card. You can see how old it is, that I had made her. So I just thought, I was half tempted to copy this, you know, shrink it down a little bit that I could put in there, but that might be too personal. But anyway, I just, you know, and it has a church steeple on it. So I did look through here to see if and she had cards and different things in here. But, you know, I thought of, you know, something else that I can put church related in here. And I thought a tithe envelope. So I'm kind of in the process of trying to design what looks like an old one because I don't have an old one. That if I do and get that, that will be in the kit. That'll be later. That's when you kind of decorate things. But I thought of a church program. So you can go online and find current, you know, church programs that you can print for free. And so I did find one, and I may end up adding it in because it was more like the American flag. What the saying that it had on it, I don't even remember the verse or what it was, but it was generic enough that it didn't scream current, I guess is the thing, because so many of them now that you can find are new and they're too modern. But I did find one, had an American flag, like I said. So it made it at least look, I think I can make it look vintage. So I may do that or may try to design my own. But this is what takes me so long because I get into that obsessive, you know, oh, I have to make something for that, you know. So I did have a picture in the school pictures, which is going to be my next signature. There was one of an organ. So I decided instead of putting it in the school, I'll put it as the transition from the church to the school. So I'm going to put it here. And I've gone in, I'm making a secret pocket out of it. So again, because, you know, it's a ghost town, I'm trying to do like hidden things, you know, secret things, going through, looking through things, finding things, that whole kind of idea. So I took a piece, I've shown this in a previous video, but I took some of my wood that I made using the Tim Holtz 3D wood embossing folder. So I framed it because I just kind of wanted some transitions from that creamy white background. And then this is a piece of my, just my fresco finish that I've used. And then I just kind of roughly tore it and used some of the walnut stain distress ink around the edge just to dirty it up some more. And then this is a piece of that scrim. I think this piece actually was a piece, I did cut that from a piece that I had rusted. So that's from there. And then I did hand stitch this with the, I've shown some of these things before, so it'll just make you have to go back to those videos, I guess. This is the kitchen string that I had tied my bundles when I was resting. And when you take that apart, you can take it down to like embroidery floss. So I used 2 strands and just like I would embroidery floss. And to get my holes punched evenly, I took the thread out of my sewing machine and then just put it on a really wide stitch and ran it through just to get all my holes there. And then that way it made it easier for me to stitch that in. And then to get, this is printed on vellum again with my vintage, you know, treatment to it. I used just a little bit of glue stick to kind of attach it to the scrim so it wouldn't move around too much while I was stitching it. But then I decided, why don't I just make this a pocket? Because otherwise it's just like a piece of art on the back of a signature. So I went ahead and I used this little, I think it's an 1/8 inch or quarter, I don't know the size. It's one I use for this little tiny hole punch. And that's a good idea when you're going to cut something so that it doesn't keep tearing, to punch a hole at either end and draw a line. And then I just used my X-Acto knife. And it just happened to be, it wasn't intentional, but I thought I need to line this. I need to make a pocket. So I'll put book page on there. And it just happened to be the right width of, I didn't even have to cut that. So I've just stuck a piece of book page, lined it up with the opening, and then I'm folding it over. And then I could either just put a little glue here, but I'm just going to glue that whole thing down. And I don't need to do that now until after the signature's in because I'm just bulking it up in the meantime. But that's going to just go there, and then I'll have a little secret pocket right there. So we have that. And then the back side, again, I just vintage photoed, you know, Distress Oxide around. And this was my back of the church photo. And I like that you can see, I went ahead and didn't line it or anything because I like that you can see the music behind there. And then that way too, whatever I card or whatever I put in here. I haven't made any cards yet, but I kind of started going through things that I already, you know, ones that printed that could work in this journal. So we'll see. I think I'll probably make some, a tithe envelope. That would be good there. So that's that. And then the next one's going to be my school. And I haven't gotten very far on it. That I did have a few more. Tim Holtz has some memoranda packs and such that have some school-related things. But I thought, let's see. My brown tissue and this vellum was part of this first folio. or signature. So this one didn't need one to wrap around it because it's got the 2 pages from the one before. But then I do need one on the school one because, so I have a transition again. So I thought for this transition, what would be fun to do would be to take another piece of music, because I've got music that kind of goes from church to school. And it just happened that the back of this is how I kind of displayed it too on my piano. It was America the Beautiful, which it's part of a hymn book, but it's a song we learn in school. So I thought, well, that's fine. That's a good transition. So I'm going to leave this blank, and then I'm going to put this. I haven't distressed it yet with the age or anything on it. This again will be something that's either in a kit that I'll have available, and I'll probably have it small like this, just so it can be a pocket or just part of a card or something like that. So that's going to go there. And then I have my school. So for the school things, I did find from Tim Holtz Paper Pack, I found this. So this is a nice thickness because I always want the outside part of my signature for each one to be a little thicker than the paper you write on inside. So that worked out for there. And then I didn't have, obviously, any school kids, but I did find, I just searched online for public photos for that era. And then I found this cute picture. It's just the teachers in the background. And I just love how this little boy has his hat in his hand and he's looking over here at maybe this little girl. I just thought that was so cute. So that may end up being a pocket on the front of that. I'm not sure where I'm putting all these things yet, or, you know, what else is going in, so I haven't attached anything. But then I had this one also, and these are all going to be available in the freebies, but this was just in the schoolhouse in Bodie. And so I thought, well, that can go there maybe. This is some coffee stain paper, that elementary school paper that you learn to write on. I had a couple of different styles from different packs of that, so that'll go in there. And maybe some graph paper. I have that too. I'm not sure what all. So I haven't gotten very far in this one. And then this was just another school photo too with map and stuff. So that's as far as I haven't gotten very far in this one. But I wanted you to see, you know, where I'm at, how my process goes, why I'm so slow. But that's what I have. And now I have kind of a sneak. I know it's getting into time here. I'm going to turn the camera off. Well, maybe not quite yet. I'm going to, I have an experiment going on out in the backyard. And so I was going to grab that to kind of see where it's at and show you what it is I have, you know, as I've been doing vintage things for this journal, I also make jewelry, and it's gotten me to thinking. I've been doing the rusted fabric and different things. I don't know where that one came from. Rusted fabric and different things, and it clicked in my mind that I used to, haven't done it in a while, but I used to make jewelry out of old keys. So this is stuff I already had from years ago. I thought, I know I have a huge bag of keys still that I haven't even aged yet. So I don't know if I'm going to age these just because I love these keys already, how they are. These are old master lock keys, and they have this lion on them. I don't know if you can see that. I just love those. So I've got a few that have little lions on them. So I don't think I'm going to age those, but these were aged with my chemical that I mentioned in a previous video from Modern Masters. I'll put the link to this because you can get this on Amazon in, I think when I mentioned it, because I haven't had to buy it in a long time, I buy like a gallon jug of it. And it was, you know, pretty expensive. And when I bought that gallon jug, I also bought the iron oxide paint. So together, you know, you're over $100, I think. So I did find it though in a smaller craft size quantity in a bottle. So I'll put the link to that so that you can get some of that if you want. But it's a way to chemically rust and patina things. That's simple. All you do is, you know, wet it with that, and that's all I did with this. And you can see I did it in this plastic tray, which is now has these imprints kind of from all the aging. So like I said, I did these years ago, and I think these are just, this side is just sprayed with like a sealer, you know, because some people like them just to be left looking old. But then, you know, I've done tutorials on resining feathers for my Bohemian journal that I did, where I made the paper beads and all that. So I'm working on a new batch of jewelry right now, of my pendants, which I'm using resin. So whenever I have left over, I don't want to waste it. So these I've done years ago too, but when I make my jewelry with them, I like them to look like a piece of jewelry. So these are all aged and then resined, but I've also taken and put words in that are printed on tissue paper, so you kind of just see through them. So these are all ones that I have done and not turned into anything. You can, this one I had put some, what's it called? Enameling. You can do like silver enameling on that and then put it in red. So just different things. I like to do a little show and tell, you know, to see. So these are some, I think this one has a little bird on it, you know, that can be turned into jewelry. Why I'm doing this is because I do jewelry and other things and this journaling, I wanted to kind of marry my two things together. So every time I do a series, I'm going to also try to do some jewelry items that fit the theme as well. And it just so happened, because I love vintage things, that I already have a whole line of jewelry that I've made with these trade coins, these antique trade coins. These I've drilled holes, that they'll be earrings or, you know, things with danglies or whatnot. I'll probably put things like this also in the little kit that's going to be the reward for whoever wins the drawing at the end, just so you have more things. I've got this, you know, this is one of my bracelets. In fact, I think Cindy just bought either a wrap one like this or a single. Maybe yours is a single. And then I also have them where they're just the coins all the way around, necklaces, all kinds of things. So I'll put a link to the trade coin category. Well, actually, I don't know if I did that anymore. I think I switched to my website. But I used to have a category just with trade coins. So I'll see if I do. And if I do, I'll put a link to that too, so you can find it. Now, I'm going to turn the camera off and try to turn it back on after I go get the experiment that I'm doing in the yard. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to put some gloves on. Even though this is dry, it's a chemical, so I don't really know what the chemical is. I guess they probably have a safety data sheet that will tell what they are, but they're not listed on the bottle. They're just known, you know, you just know they're chemicals. So I'm going to wear gloves, even though this is dry. So normally when I would do this, when I was resting parts, you know, before I ever did junk journaling or anything, I would just put this in something plastic, because then it won't rust, like that little tray. And then I would just get the items wet. But then since I started learning how to rust fabric, I thought, well, I could just do the same thing, only put it on a piece of fabric. So because I've been working on this cookie sheet, this one actually is already lined with tape. It's my craft one, so I really don't care if it gets rusted anyway. But I did put a piece of bubble wrap down just to kind of protect it. And then I just laid the keys out and then sprayed it with my, my rusting activator. And I could have kept it inside to keep it wet longer, but it's really smelly and I didn't want to open a window. So I went ahead and put it outside. So it's dried pretty quick. This really has only been out there during the time I was recording. I think I wetted it probably half hour or so before. So maybe 2 hours max that this has been sitting here. So we'll see what has happened. So that's under that one. Oh, this is going to be kind of neat. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I think, because I just don't care how... If I wanted to leave these more, I could not move these and just spray them wet and let them continue to go. But I don't even care. These will need to be wetted more if I want them to get old, you know, to continue to rust. But like this one wasn't rusted at all when it started. They were old keys when they started, really old, but they weren't rusted yet. So it's just gonna leave kind of a neat pattern on here. And I didn't get these wet first, so basically were almost acting as a resist to the fabric. So I could do the opposite, get these, soak these, you know, they're not gonna hold the moisture, but if they were wet on the back side first and then laid them down, I might get a different result. Or if I did the little bundles where I rolled them all up, that'll get a different result. So I may actually put these into another piece of fabric and then roll them up and do that other process that I've talked about in the previous rusting fabric videos. So I'm gonna hang on to those because I think I might do more since it turned out really neat. Now this piece of fabric that I used was one that I had previously, if you watched a few videos ago, I was doing many experiments rusting fabric. And one of them, I was actually using some old dried up roses to see if I could get any color out of them. They were way too far gone. And so nothing, they made a mess, kind of, little bits of black. Let's see if I have. This is part of my pile. They kind of ended up more like this. They didn't get, this one actually has had a second process on it, but you can see how it's kind of just that yellow, little bit of yellow and the purpley color. This is, like I said, this has had a second treatment. So imagine this very faded out, and that's kind of how this fabric started. So it was kind of one of my failed experiments. But, you know, you still have the fabric and it's all dingy anyway, so why not do another treatment to it? So this is the back side. Oh, and interesting, you can see from the bubble wrap. That's kind of cool. See my rust in my bubble wrap. So that kind of might be kind of fun to get some rust going, you know, from keys or whatever onto your bubble wrap, and then lay the fabric on it to try to get that kind of an imprint. That might be kind of neat. I love this though. I think that turned out really, really good. And different colors, you know, a lot of the kind of verdigris, different metals from the different kind of keys, you know, they rust out different. So love experimenting, so much fun. I'll have to find something to use this for now. But I like to share when I'm playing, you know. So I hope that if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Leave me comments so that you can get entered in the drawing at the end of the series, because there's going to be all kinds of fun vintage goodies in the giveaway. So have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.